Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today it is with great pride that I'm unboxing ELAC's brand new Concentro S 509 floor standing speakers. These astonishing speakers have an array of features and quality sets second to none. They're an absolutely astonishing pair of floor standing speakers, and with their physical size, one of the reasons that we have opted to do this unboxing video in one of our sound rooms. They're simply too big to just kind of clamber up the stairs to where we would normally do them. So we're going to have some fun in one of our sound rooms. Firstly, these ship in very, very large shipping boxes. As you can see, there's one speaker in each box. So today we're going to concentrate on the ones on the floor and move this one off to one side. So, unboxing these is relatively straightforward. The first is easy. It clearly shows on the top of the box to let you know what's going on. I'll let it forward for a moment. On this edge, and the one we see here, is the packing information, the model information and serial numbers, all in scanning codes. I'm not going to bother spinning this around and showing you the corners. The boxes are taped and stapled closed. So the first step as far as opening them is relatively straightforward with a craft knife, very, very carefully along the length, and then with the staples there's no elegant way of doing things, you just kind of have to tear it open. But as soon as you expose any of the staples, it's really, really important that they are discarded immediately. There's nothing worse than potentially damaging your own speakers with the sharp edges, or yourself as the cardboard flap sort of flops around as you open and close things. Now, at this point, the first thing that we will see is the elaborate packaging. Just tilting that forward. So they've gone to great lengths to ensure that the speakers will arrive anywhere in the world in one piece. The first thing you'll see in the middle is actually a use of a piece of wood to ensure that the box is held and won't compress potentially on the speaker, and also it's forcing the edge elements of polystyrene to be held in place. You see instructions about how to open and other things along those lines, and some of the accessories, which we're just going to drill into. So the first thing off to one side, and this is a relatively unique feature. ELAC understands at the reference point of quality that the room itself is going to start to influence how that speaker is going to react. So ELAC has introduced what they call DCR. Now it is a directional control ring. Basically the mid-range driver has a series of tunable elements that you can remove and replace depending on the characteristics you're looking for, and help to direct or widen the mid-range. So in these lovely little cloth drawstring bags we've got a couple of those rings. They're subtly different in their angles and are magnetic. They're colour-coded, one with red and one with blue, and it's obvious that in the manuals it'll show you what they desire with those. The next is a simple accessories box, and as always please hang around for some photographs of these and I'll show you all the accessories and other things along those lines. Nice close-ups. In here, relatively simple, we've got 4 of the floor protectors to allow you to position the speaker on its spikes but protect your hardwood floor. They're beautifully heavy and clearly very, very well engineered with a good depth to them, and they have a cork pad rather than using foam or rubber, which could potentially stain a hardwood floor. So there's 4 of those. There's also a series of additional cork washers, and then the spikes and a small key or wrench to help adjust and lock those spikes. Now the next part is relatively straightforward, and that's just simply removing the wooden protector. It's done its job. Now if you are to be opening one of these by yourself, then it's logical to not try and lift the speaker out of the box, but roll things over and take the box off the speaker. So doing exactly that, tucking that in, rolling them over. It's then relatively straightforward to take what is quite a large box and lift it up out of the road. Okay. Then the next part is relatively straightforward again, and that's the removal of the next piece of wood. Now it's underneath that we see the next set of accessories. In it we have a Ziploc bag with some actually pretty good quality gloves. Rather than these being those classic sort of silk-like gloves, these actually have a little bit of a rubber grip. In fact, I've always been a little bit hesitant to use the very silky soft gloves when moving large pieces because there's a chance of slip that these will eliminate. So it's wonderful that they've thought about even that. In the little accessories they're giving you, they've opted to make sure that it's more like a grippy gardening glove appeal and feature rather than something soft and silky. There's a microfiber polishing cloth, and these, which you'll see in a gloss wood grain, it's nice to know that they've given you a free cloth to keep those fingerprints off them. Then, last but not least, we see an instruction manual associated with how to set up the DCR settings. And again, we see different elements in the colour coding mentioned. And a comprehensive brochure associated with the Concentro range. Now at this point, it's about just kind of breaking apart some of these larger pieces of polystyrene. Quietly revealing the speaker itself. It's got a good thick plastic bag and then a polish bag inside. It shows the pre-fitted rear feet, and then rolling the speaker is probably the easiest at this point to allow it to quietly come onto the floor so that the rest of the polystyrene pieces can be removed. At the base of the speaker, the bag can be easily nipped and opened, and then the process of sort of rocking and pulling the bag can be easily done. The speakers are clearly bulky and heavy, but if you take the time, it's relatively straightforward to get that bag out of the road. The next step is to take the inner cloth polish bag and fold it away from the feet. Now from this point, the speaker will need to be stood up, and we see immediately the physics of it. It's a very tall speaker, sitting at 1.3, 1.4 metres high. The thick bag is removed, and then, as a beautiful unveil, we get an opportunity to see this speaker in the flesh for the first time. Technology-wise, this has some of the best drive units that ELAC have ever introduced. They have, starting with the base, two at this side and two at this side, making four 7-inch AS cone. Now that stands for aluminium sandwich. Base drivers. Now they're all coupled up. It's a four-way design, And the crossover network is hugely elaborate and absolutely beautiful, allowing for quite an elaborate array of, the moving parts are hugely elaborate, and to have a crossover network of such technicality is wonderful to see. But with 4 drive units running in parallel, you can imagine the astonishing control of base that these can deliver. Following on from there, their famous Jet 5 tweeter. It's their Jet 5C, which is only reserved for their very, very best. In a coaxial configuration around it, we see the use of an upper mid-range driver, complemented with a lower mid-range driver, all in the aluminium sandwich design, but using very, very different moving parts and components to deliver perfect accuracy of all of the frequencies required of the drive units themselves. And it means, with all of the prestigious bass from the 4 bass drivers, you've got a beautiful roll off of frequencies in just an amazing array. Tilting the cabinet forward for a moment, you see their elaborate use of curves. Standing waves and reflections are virtually eliminated. Standing waves within the cabinet, the structure is extremely rigid, and then the curves allow for no parallel lines to create dark patches of reflection that can cause distortion within the room. The cabinet itself is slightly curved backwards. As you can see, as I tilt it back again, slightly triangular or wing shape. And there's even rolls and curves in every part of it to ensure that all of the reflection off this cabinet can be managed as best as possible. Rolling it around, firstly let's pause. We've got the ELAC logo down the bottom protected there, beautiful walnut finish as you expect. The rings that can be removed and replaced in the middle here. We look at the side again to understand approximately its depth and the position of the base drivers to ensure that they're not going to liven up a space too much. We see these beautiful they call them stiletto feet. Now that is to ensure that again all of the scoops and scallops in the speaker is allowed for, to ensure that the speaker can sit firmly with no wobble in the space, but yet allow ports and other things like that to breathe. And the magic hasn't stopped yet. It's at the back that we see another sort of design element. It starts to lean back. We see elements of design and access to crossover networks, and then we see the binding posts themselves. Now above the binding posts we've got an emulation of the model and serial number, the Concentro S509, and then brilliant 5-way binding posts with a lovely design element to them. It's very, very straightforward to remove the bridging clips if required, and by amp and by wire. Again, we get a very good look at the elegant feet and the attention to detail that ELAC have from a design perspective, ensuring that function and form are both measured and delivered in perfection. Again, looking at the front, the speakers themselves from an impedance perspective, they're maybe 4 ohms. They've got a 22 Hz to 50,000 Hz frequency range, ensuring that there is no element of an issue of decay or resonance in any of their components. They've introduced some of the best engineering principles in these speakers, and everything is perfect. The fit, the finish, the wood grain, the design, everything is utterly perfect in these speakers. They're not the cheapest in the world, but they may be the best. And that's why I'm so proud to have unboxed these speakers here at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.